Hello, my name is Abby Swindle, and I have created a preschool language and math growth and development activity. For this activity, I named it number sorting, and it is particularly for the age 4 age range. I think that this activity would be best for them. It's a little more complicated. I think that any younger ages probably wouldn't be able to grasp these concepts or these higher numbers just yet. The specific goal for this activity is that the students will be able to count the numbers in the correct order and be able to have a group discussion with their class about what they learned using correct grammar. And the objectives for this activity is that the students will be able to count to numbers 1 to 30 as a group or individually. Students will be able to recognize, name, and attempt to write numbers 0 through 20. And students will be able to utilize their language skills by talking about numbers in a group setting while using correct grammar. And the objectives I used, I followed it by the guidelines and standards for the 4-year-old age range. One of the anchored standards I used was for mathematics for the college and career readiness, and that was no number names in the count sequence. And then for the language, college, and career readiness, I used from the domain conventions of standard English. And then the standard that followed with that was with prompting and support, demonstrate the commands of the conventions of the standard English grammar and usage when speaking. And that is what the students will be able to do when talking in a group setting. And then for the math, they will do this as they learn these numbers, able to talk about it and understand the number sequence of numbers 1 to 30, and then when they're working on numbers 0 through 20. The vocabulary introduced in this activity are recognize the words for numbers 1 through 30, of course, correct, further, knowledgeable, and more than and less than. And the materials needed for this activity are envelopes and number cards. So for the, this will be part of a matching activity, and for this, the teacher can create ones for numbers 1 to 30, and then they will be able to match the correct envelope with the correct number. So for this one, I wrote it on both envelopes, but it can be done like this or with an index card in an envelope. So here I've got the 4 dots and then the number 4, and then the students will look at these numbers, probably have a few different numbers in the dots set out and be able to match it that way. And the goal is for the students to be able to match the correct dots with the correct number. And there'll also be a trace numbers 1 through 30 worksheet, or it can do 0 through 20. And that can be found on activityshelter.com. It's a free printable. And markers will be needed during this activity. I've got a lot of colorful markers, and that would be probably good for the students to use bright colors to be able to remember how they're tracing and writing their numbers. And then also plain notebook paper or plain copy paper. The activity will help 4-year-old students learn, recognize, and be able to talk about numbers in the classroom. The activity can start out on the carpet, and the teacher can lead a discussion about numbers. The teacher can lead off by counting the numbers 1 through 30, and after this, the teacher can keep the students on the carpet or move to a circle table if there is one available in the classroom. As a group, they will participate in a matching activity with numbers 1 through 30. Each card will have dots on it. There will be one that has the number 1 and then the correlating dots with 1 dot that they will match, and they will do that till number 30. The students will identify the number of dots on the cards to match it with the correct number on the envelope, and then they will be given a worksheet with numbers 0 through 20 to trace. So earlier, I think I had said trace numbers 1 through 30. It just kind of depends on how well the students are doing with this. The trace the numbers 0 through 20 worksheet might be easier because that is a lot of numbers for them to learn and understand the sequence of in one day. But they could do the trace the numbers 1 through 30, and then if they do well with that, that's when they can use the plain copy paper and then practice writing numbers through 20. if the students do well with this, they can practice writing the numbers on a blank sheet of paper to further their skills. So it just kind of depends how well they do with the activity, what numbers they're most familiar with, and the teacher can use this activity plan and also kind of make it her own and make modifications based on how well the activity is going and what numbers they really understand and what numbers they are struggling with. The assessment questions for this activity can be, can you count to 20? Can you show me how to write to the number 20? And what did you learn today? This will help see if they retain the information and also give them a chance to talk about their favorite part of the activity. For the teacher interaction and scaffolding, the teacher will have to be engaging and interacting with the students throughout the entire activity. The activity may be complicated and confusing for the students. Might not be numbers that they've really counted to at one time yet. The teacher will count aloud with the students, be the leader in the matching game, and walk around as they attempt to trace and draw their numbers. She will offer her assistance if she notices the student is struggling and ask questions about what numbers they are tracing as she walks around. The teacher can introduce the idea that some numbers are more than or less than the other. She can say things like 4 is more than 3, just kind of introduce that concept. It doesn't necessarily have to be something that they master in this activity, but it would be a great opportunity to introduce that some numbers are more than the other and some numbers are less than. And then she can do base what she says off what number she sees the student is drawing or tracing at the time. She can ask them to do the same, tell her that to see if they kind of retained it, and if not, it's completely fine. It's not a part of the objective in the activity. And then she can discuss with the class what it means to compare numbers and what words can be used to do so. Just kind of introduce it and possibly use this in another activity. That skill is kind of more advanced, and then they can later on begin to recognize that with bigger numbers, because as they get older, they will start the more than, less than, equal to, all that stuff. So this would be a good time to introduce that to them, just so they're familiar with it. But this activity can be really fun for them, especially for the matching activity, and it can be a fun way to introduce these numbers and be able to recognize a number of objects, such as the dots, with the correlating number.